This is Tom Dillon, the Lifetime Liberal, and today's rant will be on Dr. Paul Krugman's article in the New York Times on Monday, June 20th, 2016, A Tale of Two Parties. Now, what Dr. Krugman is talking about here is the Democrat and Republican Party, and he starts right off by equating the Republican Party with the fall of communism back in 1989. Is that, basically they're both shallow and weak. They folded as soon as times got tough. So the example with communism is, when things really started going bad over there, everyone knew that the Communist Party didn't really stand for anything. There was just a bunch of careerists trying to keep their job, intimidating and keeping people down. And when they finally started revolting, they just caved, so to speak. And that's what's happened to the Republican Party in terms of what Trump had done, is that Trump came all out and said everything that the, let's just say, the white, non-college educated people wanted to hear. There wasn't the dog whistles of the normal Republican. They had seen through so many years of all of the GOP cliches, their talking points, and they didn't work, and Trump exposed them to all of that. But it cost a big price for the Republican Party. So now we're in the general election. And the thing that took the Republican Party down via Trump is also what's going to be hurting the Republican Party as we go into this general election. The Republican Party has always been a top-down, hierarchical, money and power are the most important things for the Republican Party. The social issues, they're just an aside. They're just there to gin up the poor, the uneducated, etc., to be outraged against the Democrats and to vote against the Democrats, and often vote against what is in their best interests. So they use the social issues to gin up what I would call the fear, the anger, and the hate. And the old other cliche on that was their usual fall guys: God, guns, and gays. They fall back on that all the time. Of course, that hasn't happened as much recently, and they won't be able to do it as much, but that is what they've been the Republicans have been based on. And that true small element, because it's not even a majority of the Republican Party, that Tea Party end, who have followed Trump and followed him fervently, is not going to be enough. And what is happening as we are going into the general election is that Trump is finding out that the Democrats are a completely different breed of being. They are not filled with that type of anger, that type of hatred, that type of resentment. They are not, they don't go after that God, guns, and gay issues. In fact, they're against all three of those types of things. What Democrats want, and Democratic-leaning independents want, is they want a government that works for them. They want a government that is unbiased. They want a government that is efficient and effective, that runs well, that helps people, that helps the average person, that gives, is there in times of need. And that's not what Trump has been able to base his campaign on. And one other thing that these Democrats can do very readily is that they see through what I call the right-wing contrived outrage of the day. They see it because what happens is the Republicans have got to have something to gin up, some type of outrage every day to say, look at this trouble over here, but don't look at this trouble over here. And of course, it's playing out right now as the Republicans do not want to talk about the gay issue in terms of the massacre, the slaughter in Orlando. They only want to talk about the ISIL Islamic terror issue. They don't want to see, they don't want to, they know what's going to be a winner for them. They don't want to feel sympathetic towards the gays. They want to have that outrage directed at those people of color in terms of Islam, Middle Easterners. They want to have that type of outrage. So what we're seeing is that the Democrats can see through all of that. They also can see through that whole, and I've seen, you see it, you've seen it for years in terms of, Trump's facade, is just, it's all false. It's a pseudo concept of his wealth. It's a pseudo concept of his power, a pseudo concept of his smarts. And what also Trump will find out the hard way, he's finding it out right now, is that Hillary really is much, much tougher than all of those 17 Republicans that he ran against combined. And remember, he only got through because of his bluster and because of his, all of the other things, his misogyny, his racism, etc. So the Democrats see through all of that. And so what's going to be happening is that the Republican Party has basically folded itself, because everything that they have stood for has been seen through by Trump and seen through by that large minority, even though it's not a majority of the Republicans. And it's going to be very hard for him to pivot to the general election because the Democrats, who have a majority over the Republicans in terms of the Democrats and left-leaning independents, and also in terms of the states, he's going to have to pivot an incredible amount. And don't see that happening in any way, shape, or form. Two quick asides here. Trump had shown that basically he is about as close to broke as you can be in terms of the fact that he only had $1 million in the bank and that he was gunning for money. He was also saying that he was going to match it, but he couldn't come up with money. Now, I haven't read into it enough, but it certainly appears as if Trump doesn't have a whole lot of money, spare money, to get to run his campaign and also to keep his election going on. And the other quick thing is that we see again, when I talked about there was nothing there, that it was shallow and weak of the Republicans, is Paul Ryan came out, I think late last week or so, talking about how they were going to come out with their replacement for Obamacare again. And now again means that for the last 6.5 years, they've said they're going to come out with a replacement for Obamacare. And of course, they can't come out with one because from a technical standpoint, they have to come out with something that's better than Obamacare. And they can't even remotely come out with something like that because that would be basically saying that Obamacare is actually working. So they've tried and they've insinuated that they're going to come out with something better than Obamacare for the last 6.5 years. Paul Ryan said it last week. And again, it's going to come out as an outline. It's not going to come out with any details. It's just going to come out with an outline. Freedom, free markets, selling insurance across state lines, etc. But again, when I talk about shallow and weak, there's nothing there that the Republicans can offer because they can't offer anything that's better than what Obamacare already is. So they're going to do everything they can, again, to get rid of Obamacare, insinuate that there's something else out there, never come up with any type of detailed plan as to how they would make that work and how it would benefit Americans because they absolutely can't. And everyone is seeing through that. So they're seeing through the Republican Party and they're seeing through Trump. So this is going to be an election where there's going to be a striking contrast between what is actually real in this world and what actually is not. And let's just hope that the American people will see through, that false facade that Trump and the Republican Party is putting up right now.